well, we're going to score more goals than you. Come on, I'm down for that.
No team in League One has conceded more goals this season than Plymouth, 15 goals.
There's obviously a bit of needle as well from the fact that Cleverley is ex-Watford.
If his team can be as useless as the last team he brought to Kenilworth Road were, well, that'd be mighty handy, wouldn't it? Because that Watford team were absolutely abject that afternoon.
Everybody in that ground sat up and went, bloody hell, this guy is quick.
Now we're attacking with 6 attackers, 4 defenders. Kev likes those numbers.
Oh, James likes them as well, mate.
Goals, goals, goals all the way. Forget what's gone before in terms of judging Bloomfield's style of football. From Saturday, we're going to see Bloomfield ball. The town returned from the international break on Saturday afternoon when Plymouth Argyle are the visitors to Kenilworth Road in a clash that was Championship football last season, but very much League One this time around. And to look ahead to the game, alongside me, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, let's hope it's a better game than that Tuesday night last season was.
There's a new era. Let's hope so.
It's about to begin, and we'll talk about it right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we are looking ahead to Luton Town versus Plymouth Argyle. Saturday, 3 p.m, no UK TV coverage of this one. So if you want to follow it, you'll need to do it via other means and ways and things. And I've got the Lutonian journalist, James Cunliffe, alongside me. Jimbo, 2 weeks without football. Bring it on.
Oh, yes, can't come soon enough. I cannot tell you again how boring international qualifying football is, and I think it should be totally scrapped because who cares? The proper stuff's happening on Saturday, and I'm really, really excited to see what Luton can do with these new players. And I think that this, you said in the previous podcast, this is where the season starts, and I think they alluded to that the whole time. You've got to try and get through August, which they largely did okay. But then, yeah, this is going to be exciting, I think.
And it's also the acid test of where we are. I know Plymouth haven't started the season particularly well, although you wouldn't have thought that last Saturday. I don't know how many players Stockport had missing on international duty and whether it kind of impacted them or not. But they were put to the sword by Plymouth, who probably going into that game were under a lot of pressure. New manager, sold a lot of players. Take the new manager part of it, out of it, very much in keeping with us. Obviously a change in style. Tom Cleverley's not going to pick 3 meatheads at the back and bang it forward to another one, is he? That's not how he plays his football. And it hasn't really started the season too well for them. But then they go and beat Stockport 4-2, and all of a sudden you're like, well, hang on a minute, we might be getting these at the wrong time. How's your Donald?
Yeah, it's not the most ideal time after that particular result, because the early start of the season had not been positive for them, bouncing on from the end of last season as well. But I think that would mean it would be an open-looking game, and then it's just who's got the best players that can win the game. And I'd like to think that it would be Luton if that was, if you played it out like most of the time. We'll see, but there's a lot to look forward to in this one, and I think that well, particularly it's going to be an exciting 2:00, isn't it? Because when the team sheets come out, rather than a one where we're all sort of hiding behind our fingers looking at the team sheet, I think it's like, how are you going to squeeze all these players into this lineup? And I think that they've probably not had that for a long time.
1:45, Jimbo. They brought it forward, haven't they? 1:45 when the teams are announced on Saturday. Do you know what I would like? Bearing in mind we only took 1 point from 2 games against this lot last season, which ultimately is why we're in the Championship. Everyone else took more than that, or most teams took more than that against them. Is why we're in League One, not in the Championship. Um, what I would like to see is a repeat of the last time they collided with us in League One at Kenilworth Road. Sure, I don't need to take you back, but Town won 5-1, and in the first half of that game, we purred like we've not purred for a while at the point, and you knew probably then that it was going to take a bloody good team to stop us getting promoted that season. You didn't know that we were going to, or we were in the middle of a 28 game unbeaten run that was going to see us take on all comers, beat them all, and win the division. But if we can play anything like that caliber of football on Saturday, those that are going, and I have to say, annoyingly, I'm not one of them, will be mightily entertained.
Where are you then?
You know me, Jimbo. There are two loves in my sporting life: Luton Town and Hampshire Cricket Club. Hampshire are in T20 finals day. It is the best day in the sporting calendar. It is the only day I will miss Luton games for. You get two semi-finals and a final on a day on the lash. Happy days. And if Hampshire can win the whole thing, even better. So yeah, I'm at Edgbaston. My sort of spirit will kind of be at Kenilworth Road, but my body's firmly at Edgbaston, so I'm missing this one, which means you will debut as the instant reactioner.
Good luck for you out there. And I didn't understand the last 30 seconds of everything you said there. If you're not an avid cricket fan, so that's disappointing for you. I think everybody that is going to Kenilworth Road is going to be in for hopefully a treat and a footballing spectacle where two teams go at each other hammer and tongs. And
I'll be getting goal alerts coming through on my phone, and I'll be jealous as long as they're in the right net, of course. But sometimes other things are more important, Jimbo. They score a lot of goals, Plymouth, or at least they're there to score a lot of goals. They scored a lot of goals on Saturday, conceded a lot of goals. Though no team in League One, I keep calling it the Championship because we're playing against a team from the Championship. No team in League One has conceded more goals this season than Plymouth. 15 goals. They've only played 7 games. Now my simple maths tell me that's more than 2 a game. They kind of feel like opponents that we can get after. But then on Saturday, you kind of look at it and you think they might get after us as well.
yeah, until that game against Stockport, you're thinking this is tailor made. This game for kickstarting Luton, albeit they won it, but kickstarting the home form potentially, or just this new period of the season where we don't have to worry about who's coming in and who's going for another 3-4 months at least. And then they go and play against Stockport like that. I've only seen the highlights, as probably you have, against the Stockport game. They look very open in those highlights, Stockport, and I don't think they'll have the same freedom against Luton. We'll hope so. And there was a couple of really good hits from both sides, so it was quite a high-scoring game. But I wouldn't mind that, a high-scoring game at all, as long as it ends out with Luton getting the most. And as we said in the previous podcast, if that's going to be the mantra, well, we're going to score more goals than you. Come on, I'm down for that.
Absolutely, yeah. We win the game, like I said, if we win the game 5-1 like we did last time in League One. Colin scored a hat-trick that day. Obviously, he won't score a hat-trick, but Jerry Yates is very much in his mould, and, maybe he might do. And JJ got on the score sheet that day. Shinnie was unbelievable that day. I remember he was brilliant. And if we've got a midfield performance like that on Saturday, so much the better.
Well, there was JJ came to the fore in that game, didn't he? And now we've got Zach, who I believe can now carve his own path in that midfield area from what we've seen in the last 2 games, and from the inability to tempt anyone from a midfield perspective in the transfer window. This is set up for him now.
I would agree. Yeah, absolutely. We'll come onto the town side in a minute because, yeah, like you alluded to at the start of the podcast, there's an awful lot of competition for places all of a sudden. 2 former players returning to Kenilworth Road, or they're in the Plymouth squad. Whether they play or whether they have a part, I don't know. Brendan Galloway and Bim Pepple, the latter who was subject to racial abuse after the Virtue Trophy game last midweek, which again is bang out of order. We'll flag it up again like we did when Luton and Bradford were involved in it earlier in the season. Not good. I don't know if they're going to play much of a part, but they do play for Plymouth. But the good news is, and I can't remember the geezer's name, and he don't play for them no more, so I'm not even going to research it. But the number 40, who headed literally everything and would have headed any planes out of the flight path at Kenilworth Road last season, he don't play for him no more. So we've got a defence that we can get past.
Oh yeah, well, a different prospect from what the kind of football we were playing then. Now we've got, if it doesn't work down the middle, we're going to go around the sides and down the flanks, and um, there's a couple of different ways that Luton can now hurt you. Whereas sometimes we were scratching around thinking, well, what's the game plan here? So we'll see if it all comes to fruition. But yeah, I mean, they've had some changes as well. They signed a hell of a lot of players, didn't they? They said, and they signed them early as well, which makes the first few games in the division not go down too well. I'd imagine probably with them, but there's obviously a bit of needle as well from the fact that Cleverley is ex-Watford through and through, by the way. He came through Man United, but he played for them and he's managed them, and he celebrated like you wouldn't believe on top of a table when Luton lost, and then he got the sack about half a second later, which is the way they do things down there. But I think that people will, that adds a little extra dimension where I think people will relish, Hatters will relish getting one over.
If his team can be as useless as the last team he brought to Kenilworth Road were, well, that'd be mighty handy, wouldn't it? Because that Watford team were absolutely abject that afternoon. They never fancied it from minute 1 to minute 90. And actually, it's on those of you, I can't say us this time, those of you that are in the stands on Saturday, to make it equally as daunting for them that Plymouth don't fancy it either.
Yeah, exactly that. And I hope that the last week has given people more cause for optimism, and that can change. It still has. It might take still the players to show you that they're well up for it again. But the last two games, that has been the case where you've been, pressing from the off or chances early on and started quite fast. And that's what people want to see, and less of the ponderous stuff that we've been having to sit through of the last couple of seasons. And back to that old Luton way of just full throttle. And I think that the Kenny usually responds when that happens. Now we've got to see it, both of the two things come together, and 2 + 2 = 4 for once. And we'll see how that happens. But I think that there should be, on paper, a lot more positivity knocking around.
Yeah, I mean, for the 3,000 or so that were at the Barnet game, I didn't catch the exact attendance, but it was in that ballpark, wasn't it? I think Barnet brought a few hundred. They saw that, didn't they? And they saw that with a young side. So you kind of got to get the impression that the more experienced team are going to be capable of doing it as well. And if they're not, well, then these youngsters are going to get in the side an awful lot quicker than what maybe we thought that they would do. Just their defensive record, Plymouth, will tell you that this is a much more open defence than that one that they brought down here in that Tuesday night in February. That defence looked quite organised, didn't it? It had stopped conceding. It went back to conceding more goals towards the end of the season, but they had a month or 6 weeks or so where they stopped conceding, didn't they? And those three defenders were imperious. Kind of get the impression that they're a lot more open at the back now. And, well, you're here for it, really.
Yeah, I mean, we played into their hands massively on that game, and you don't need for us to repeat old lines from that podcast, but it was pretty much that for about half an hour, wasn't it? That it was so obvious that you could see it from space, I reckon. But
I was going to take some aspirin down to the number 40, the amount of things he was heading away. He's going to get a headache at some point.
he's gone, so hopefully that it is more open. What I think what we did see from those Stockport highlights at the weekend was that they're still very useful in terms of counters and pace, which they have had in abundance the last couple of times we've played them, going forwards at least. So there is still stuff to think about and threats to negate, but hopefully it was a kind of one-off at the weekend. It did seem extremely open and shots galore and pockets of space all over the place. I'm not sure they're going to have that privilege at Kenilworth Road.
No, they won't do, will they? Well, it's a tighter pitch, isn't it, and everything else. That's enough of Plymouth. We've seen enough of them. We kind of know what to expect. I would imagine they're going to be better going forward than that team. I mean, they basically just had that one set piece, long throw or whatever it was, wasn't it, that they scored, and that was them for the night. I would expect them to be better. Thankfully, again, I forget his name, but the number 7 who came off, Sissoko, was it? Came off the bench at their place and absolutely tore us a new one. I think he's at Sheffield Wednesday now, or was. He's not there either. So that's handy. So, in terms of Plymouth. They're very much a rebuilt Plymouth side to the one that we faced last season, as indeed we are. So let's bring it back to us. I know Josh Keely's going to be in goal. Who would have three in front of them going to be, though?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if we're talking in an ideal world because we don't yet know if Mads Andersen is going to be back up and running. I think he wasn't supposed to be far away. And I would imagine he's the man for the middle if he is fit. But if he's not, who goes in there? And I think that we saw that Chris Makosso was trialled against Barnet, so he could be the man to come in. Either of those from the early season form, I'd be quite comfortable with in the middle of that three.
Yep. Once again, if you're new to watching our previous shows, we record these before Matt's pre-match press conference, just so that we can get them all chopped up and everything and out to you with enough time for you to watch it and everything else. So you might already know the answer to that question by the time that you listen or watch this podcast. But, if you don't, then that's fine. He was close, wasn't he, Mads Andersen, apparently?
Yeah.
So with an extra 2 weeks, unless he's gone down injured again, logic would dictate that he'll be available, albeit he wasn't on the bench or anywhere to be seen against Barnet, but that might just have been a precaution. That's fine. Tedemengi?
Well, he's back on the grass, isn't he? I'm not sure that he's fully up to speed yet. You might, maybe you have to see him on the bench first to come in that side, but um, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one with Ted and Meng, isn't it? Because if he'll want to move away eventually. We're not stupid. We don't, probably wouldn't begrudge him that. He's got that outlook on it. He's grown up in a Manchester United environment, isn't he? But you have to now go and really prove it because he didn't go away with the under-21s in the summer. He was on the sort of standby list, and he went, then he wasn't picked. So he hasn't got that recognition. Been relegated twice. There is some rebuilding of his footballing reputation to be done, I would imagine. And he's capable of it. It's just, he's got to come back. But I don't see that he would be playing in this game just yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, you say that there's got to be a rebuild of reputation. Seeing some of the people that have got moves to a higher division that have left our club this summer, I'm not sure anyone takes any
Yeah.
notice of reputation
Well, yeah,
anymore.
I mean, Burnley still wanted him, and that probably is off reputation alone of what he did in the Premier League. He was fantastic in the Premier League. Obviously, barely played last season, injury hit, so it's not all down to him that Luton got relegated. So I'm not saying that, but when you put those outcomes of the 2 seasons he's had at Luton, where his future lies, I've no doubt that he can get a higher move, but it certainly help if he comes in and performs out of his skin.
Yeah, as we said in the last podcast, a motivated and up for it Tedemengi is way too good for League One, that's for sure. There's no arguments on that. Yeah, whether he's fit enough or not for this game, I would imagine someone's going to ask Matt at the press conference, so you'll find out if you see all of the snippets that come out of that. One good thing about the international break, Jimbo, and there's not many, you're right, with what you said at the start of the podcast, but one good thing is that George Saville played Thursday, Sunday, so he'll be back in training and absolutely fine and everything. He's not been globetrotting or anything like that. I think his first game was in Luxembourg, his second game was in Germany, so he's not done too much
He barely
mileage.
played as well, didn't he? He played like 3 minutes of the first game. What did he play in the second one? Didn't catch up with that.
Yeah, no, didn't either. I know he started on the bench and
That's good.
yeah,
Good.
he hasn't been chasing Germans around the pitch for too long, so he shouldn't be too inconvenienced. Unfortunately, Nikhil Wells, the second of his international games is Tuesday night in Curacao, which, having had to Google the gaff, is somewhere in the Caribbean. It's where Tahith Chong plying his trade. It's Chong versus Wells after Saturday was meant to be Wells versus Amari Bell, but Amari Bell didn't get picked. That might be more of an issue, though. If he's coming back from the Caribbean, having played on a Tuesday night, he might not be ready to go straight into the starting lineup on a Saturday.
Yeah, I don't see it as an issue though, because I think that's part of the reason why some of the strong, the strong side, sorry, that Bloomfield picked for the Barnet game. He knew that he didn't have a game against Blackpool at the weekend, so he could do that. Whereas before we thought we'd see a lot more youngsters coming in, but it was a really strong side, and I think that that was the reason that he specifically played Nordos and Yates so they could get goals, hopefully get home goals. They both did, so they've both got that off the mark, and they're looking like there's a partnership forming there, early signs. So um, I I don't see it as a problem that he won't come in and start. If he wants to come in and be on the bench, that's a great option, isn't it?
Well, my next question was, does he get in the team?
Probably not. No, I mean, you've got to travel back from the Caribbean on Wednesday at the earliest. How long's the Caribbean trip? I've never been, unfortunately.
Well, no, me neither. I've only been to America, and that's best part of 6 hours on a plane, isn't it? But actually, that is significant, isn't it? Because you're right, he's not gonna come back any earlier than Wednesday. Wednesday used to be the day off in the week, didn't it? It's now Thursday, so he's not gonna train properly with the team on Thursday because there's no one there to train. So he's only gonna get Friday. So really, you've gotta be looking at Nicky Wells as a substitute. It's good that he's been away, he'll have been training, he's not been sat on his ass for the last week, but he's gonna be and he was on the bench at Burton. And like you quite rightly say, Nordos has scored in both games since then, Burton and Barnet, and Jerry Yates has scored against Barnet too. But when he's up to speed and everything's fine and dandy, does Wells get in ahead of either of those two? Bearing in mind we've got Al Hamady to come in somewhere along this line as well. Now we know that Matt's going to rotate. With regards to attacking players, Matt's very much a revolving door, isn't he? He rotates them quite regularly. We're going to have two. It looks like, by virtue of the fact that he's just played them in a trophy game, that 1-2 are Yates and Nordos. So we can only assume that the other two, Al Hamady and Wells, good luck defence, good luck. Um, what a two to have in backup when them two are fit. If they're going to spend some of the time on the bench, I would imagine one set will start one game, the other set will start the other game, certainly towards the end of the month when we got that Blackpool game. Crikey, that's a prospect, is it not?
Yeah, it's a really exciting prospect. I mean, I'd temper it for people on this game that you're unlikely to see Ali Al Hamadi unless been given the old rope a dope in the build up to this. He's still got a minor calf injury that he's looking to get out of, but it's not going to be a long one. So, but I think this game will come too soon. So I think that the options up front will be those two that played against Barnet and started. That would be the start. Nicky Wells on the bench to come up and offer an option. Still pretty good, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, lots of people have been asking us about Jacob Brown actually, and it's a good question. And we've not mentioned Jacob Brown because we've not heard anything about Jacob Brown. In fact, the only thing we've heard about Jacob Brown for the last 2 months was that Bristol City wanted him on transfer deadline day, and that move fell through. Now, there were rumours going around that he failed a medical. I don't know if it's true or not. It was only social media, but again, it came from Bristol journalist accounts down there, so you can only assume that it is true. And if he has failed a medical, then that would tell us that he's injured still. So that's why we're not seeing too much of Jacob Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked about him periodically. He is back on the grass in terms of getting training in a sense, but that's early days. He's not really in full training, and you won't see him for a while yet because it was a really serious injury that he picked up, and obviously had to have an operation for it. So I'm not kind of not surprised if it was the fact that he failed a medical that he did, because how would you not fail a medical when you're coming back from that sort of injury? Was a surprise, that one,
Absolutely.
for most people. But again, he's managed goals in the Championship and the Premier League, so it's not a surprise based on probably reputation that a team might look at someone like him. But yeah, you won't see him for a while. It's definitely not this game.
No, that's fair enough. And of course, just looking at the transfer activity out so far this summer, generally the higher earners have been the ones to disappear. And given that he was signed in the Premier League, you've got to think that he's one of the higher earners. So you would imagine in January, if he's fit, that might be something that plays out. Again, that's one to watch, particularly if Bristol City were interested. That would tell you that I would imagine other Championship clubs will be interested in him. That's by the by, you're right. Oh, I think Wells is only going to be on the bench. I think we can safely say, barring injury, that Nordos and Wells are going to start up front again. Sorry,
Yates.
wait,
Yeah.
Yates are going to start up front again, and why wouldn't they? They were electric against both Burton and Barnet, so I'm absolutely fine with that. We've already said Saville's going to be the six. That leaves us with two eights to find, and then two wing backs. We'll come on to the wing backs in a minute because I'm glad I'm not picking that particular selection. The two eights, though, there's no reason why that's not Clark and Nelson.
No, I think that's a fairly nailed on assumption. Even though Liam Walsh pretty good against Barnet.
As
Um,
was Richards,
yes,
but
but
Clark's done no wrong.
no, Clark had a really good game, didn't he, against Burton? And Richards, that was the first sight of him. But it kind of done him his chances any harm whatsoever. He did look really assured. You wouldn't have known he would. And a very, very young 18-year-old. He's only just had his birthday, hasn't he? So um, maybe in the squad now. Maybe that is the next step in the progression for him.
Hope so. Yeah, really enjoyed what I saw of him against Barnet. Just going back to the defence, I forgot actually, Cal Naismith didn't start against Burton. Does he come back in to start having played against Barnet, or are we going with Nigel Longwake at that left-sided centre half again? Again, did nothing wrong against Burton. The obvious question would be what he faced against Burton, but you know,
That I suppose is a tricky one, really. And based on what I've seen from Plymouth and that they still do retain a bit of pace, I would say Nigel Longwake, because that was the reason that Cal wasn't played or wasn't, from the start at West Brom in the last game of the season against up at the Hawthorns. So yeah, that would probably strike me as the best option. The thing is now we have got options where you can play horses for courses, and this may be one of those occasions.
that would of course need Mads Anderson to be fit for the middle position. Otherwise, you would just go Cal, Longwake, Makosso in whichever combination of the three that you go with. So that's left us with the wing backs.
Hmm.
I think Millie Ali's going to be left wing back. You don't leave Millie Ali out of the side. Sorry, he's going to be left winger. We need to stop calling him wing backs. I've mentioned it in the last podcast, and it's going to be one of those that slowly gets through to my head that we're going to have to stop calling them wing backs. They're wingers. Millie Ali's going to be the left side, isn't he? You don't leave Millie Ali out of this side. He's way too dynamic, way too exciting for this division to be left out. And really and truly, we've not yet got that back up to him. Yes, Morris is capable of playing on the left side, but he's probably only going to be the left-sided one of the two when Jones is fit on the right-hand side, and we obviously haven't got Jones yet. So I think we're assuming Millie Ali's going to play left wing, but that's not left winger. That's not to say that Cohen Bramall did anything wrong. He didn't, but you're at home against a team that have got a defence that is leaking a little bit. You play Millie Ali down that side. Who do you play at right winger though?
This is going to be a conundrum all season because it's
Bearing in mind you was the president of the initial Geezers fan club, I suspect you've also applied for membership of another particular fan club down that side as well.
yeah, I have. I have. It's an exciting prospect, really, because Kadea had a fantastic first half against Barnet, and he played really well in the game before. Uh, and he made an impact. Obviously, he helped in the assist of one of the goals. So that being said, Morris came in and everybody sat up. I mean, everybody in that ground sat up and went, "Bloody hell, this guy is quick as you like." And Gadea's pretty quick as well, but Morris, oh man, I think probably based on experience with Morris having played a greater chunk of games in the Scottish Premiership, that might tip the scale. Obviously scored now, so could they obviously, but scored in his debut, two fantastic runs. Did he get an assist for the penalty that he converted? I'm giving it to him, so an assist to the goal. Um, I'd go for Morris.
Yeah, I would too. Again, that's nothing against Kadir, but he's one of those in the we're building him up to full steam camps, isn't he? And maybe maybe he's off the bench here. I mean, the Plymouth left back get some sleep on Friday night, lad, because once you've dealt with Morris, you've got Kadir coming on for the last half an hour, and if you think you finally got rid of one of them, think again because you've got another speedster up against you.
And I wonder if that will be the case now. Again, horses for courses, but you could play it like that, so they're not. And if they are having to run back at any stage, we hope not. We hope we're going to be further forward. But if they are having to run longer lengths of the pitch, then that kind of takes out. What say if one plays 60 minutes, the other plays an hour?
We're playing a 2-hour game.
No. So half an hour. Um, then it kind of takes away the potential injury threat that we've had for so bloody long, for the last 2 seasons. I think it reduces that impact, doesn't it? And doesn't reduce the attacking impact. That could be a really, useful option tool to have.
Yeah, not just doesn't reduce the attacking impact, in fact, it maximizes it for the whole 90 minutes, doesn't it? Because as fit as Morris and Kadir are, it's a right old effort to be up and down that line for 90 minutes at the intensity that football's played at these days. And you're absolutely right, it's injury prevention as well, because we're led to believe, and we don't know for sure, but Matt's alluded to it, that Izzy Jones's problem was workload last season. Um, so if we can share the workload down that side, and eventually, hopefully, when Izzy Jones is back, we move Morris over to the other side to share the workload with um, Millie Ali, that we can prevent them. Because if we've got those four in particular on the field throughout the course of the 90 minutes, like you say, one doing 60, the other doing 30, and then vice versa the next time around, much like we just mentioned with the strikers, there is pace to burn, there is excitement, and we've already been a team that's gone to the end of the season. We've scored however many goals it's been in the last 5 minutes already. Well, you got them coming off the bench. You're going to maintain your intensity, aren't you?
Yeah, no let up for teams, and that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to go until the 95th and plus minutes if you can, if you really need a goal to get something. And just the way you've said it there, I hadn't really thought about it, but the two options once everybody's fully fit, being able to go at teams. And if you think we won the title in this division with the two best wing backs in the division, but they played all the time, you've got four of them to come on. I like those odds.
Yeah, I do too. Absolutely, absolutely. And also, they're coming up against players who aren't athletically fantastic, because if they were, they wouldn't be in League One, would they? Athletes generally rise to the top of the pyramid, as hopefully those guys are going to do with us. So yeah, that's kind of how we see the team going. So obviously, you've got Kearley in goal. When we're not sure about the back three, but if Mads Anderson's fit, we're going Longwake, Anderson, Makosso, Millie Ali, Shader Morris down that side, George Savile is the 6, Clark and Nelson as the 2 8s, and Nordos and Yates up front with a right old bench to come on. You look at that bench on Saturday, whoever's on it, and you're like, "Yep, they'll do for me."
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want. You want that confidence. You want to know if it ain't going particularly right. And there will be periods in maybe this game, but certainly throughout the season where it isn't going right. You need a plan B. Whereas the last time we played this lot, there wasn't one. There was barely a plan A, and you know, the Pilgrims gobbled it up. So we want a plan A, a plan B, and potentially a plan C. You know, if things aren't particularly going right, but that is kind of moving into the realm of where Matt Bloomfield had his Wickham side. And we've been talking about this for a long time, but yeah, the transition to get there was going to take some time. I've probably 2/3 of the way there now, probably in terms of incomings. And that's a good sign. And they've just got to go and prove that now.
Yeah, I still think if Bloomfield's still here in 18 months, I think we'll be playing a back four by then. I still think that the end game is that. But I think this season now, we're just going to go guns out and let's see what you've got, sort of thing.
I suppose the only time, and I have talked about this, but this chunk of no match action could be a time where you transition. You don't think it would happen. I sort of more agree with you than I don't, but there is an option there.
I did think it would happen, but then when you sign Al Hamadi and Gaboda, you then all of a sudden you've got four centre forwards. Now, if you play in his formation at Wickham 4-3-3, you only have one centre forward, so you don't need four of them. So that's why I think we're sticking with the front two, and I just can't see us going 4-4-2. The days of a straight up 4-4-2 are long gone. You have to be a bit funky in midfield, don't you? Otherwise, you get outnumbered. For example, the last time we were in this division, we had the diamond in midfield. I think the diamonds days have gone as well. You know, it's all about your wide attackers now, isn't it? And that's why we've signed these. Again, in the future, when Nicky Wells is no longer able to cut it, and we'll get to a point where that is the case, whether that's still in League One because of his age or in the Championship because probably a higher level than where he's going to be, then maybe you lose a centre forward. Then maybe then you look at restructuring it then. But I just think for this season now, and I'm fine with it now. Now that I've seen what the attacking options are, and I've seen at Burton the whole idea of the game that the wingers have got to be in their half, and it's on the wingers to be in their half now. And that's basically Matt saying to them, look, there's your formation. Go and impose yourselves on them. And as a team, don't let these two drop back. Make sure they're as far forward as they can be. I'm absolutely fine with it now because now we've got a front two, we've got two eights, and we've got two wingers. We're attacking with six. Whereas when we were pigeonholing this, we were really only attacking because we had these wing backs in our minds deeper than going forward. We were really only attacking with the front two and it was one, wasn't it, with two behind them. So we were really only attacking with three. Now we're attacking with six. Six attackers, four defenders. Kev likes those numbers.
Oh, James likes them as well, mate. Yeah, I mean, he's just overloading the options when you go forward, and more men in the box is going to help. Wingers crossing into the box is going to help. Tall strikers like Nasser Nordas, although we've seen he's probably quite good, probably better with his feet, but still going to be a presence. That's going to be um, a good thing as well. Yeah, it probably will be the same formation, just now with a different emphasis, and that's a better prospect than what we were thinking. And hopefully, it lessens the amount of times we have to talk about it in the sense that we had, because um, it didn't feel like it was working. But then you look at the stats of how many goals we hadn't conceded, and standing on the precipice of a best ever record. If we get a clean sheet against Plymouth, then maybe it wasn't as bad as what we were thinking. It's just that it wasn't all clicking, it didn't look like this fluid team, and the chances weren't there. They weren't being created. There wasn't that much creativity at all. But I think that changes from now.
Yeah, I do too. You look at those first six games, and there were an awful lot of times where the ball got into the front man, and he couldn't do anything with it because too many people were too far away from him. Well, now that's not the case. The front man's got a partner for starters, which he didn't have in those first 3 or 4 games. It was a solo with two behind. Now the front two have got two backing them up. The two wingers have got you can clearly see from that Burton game, just that Burton game, you can clearly see that they're being told their half of the pitch, not our half of the pitch. Now all of a sudden, people are there. We should be, and now when we win the ball high up, which is what Bloomfield has always wanted to do, he goes on relentlessly about high pressing and everything else and creating overloads and all of this. Well, if you've got six in the attacking area of the pitch, you're going to create an overload somewhere along the line. Everything that Matt's spoken about, which we couldn't see because of the option. Well, we can now say, can't we? Because of the options that he had available to him,
Mm.
we couldn't see what he was saying. Now everything that he's been saying, we're about to see play out because he's got everything that he wants now. In fact, there are no excuses now. He has got everything that he wants to turn us into this side he wants to turn us into. It's not to say we're not going to concede goals. We are. You look at the Wickham side last season, they conceded goals, but they scored a barrel load whilst he was there. Kone was the top scorer in the division, I think, when he
At the
left.
time he left, yeah.
And that's where we're going to be. So, yeah, to be fair to Matt, he's taken a bit of stick, not necessarily because of his own doing, but what he's inherited more than anything that he's done. And he struggled to sort of get what he wanted out of what he had left. But now he's got what he wants, and looking forward to seeing how Bloomfield ball works from here. Forget the rest. Forget what's gone before in terms of judging Bloomfield's um, style of football. From Saturday, we're going to see Bloomfield ball.
Let's hope so. Yeah, I think it does work. I think you do have to credit him, really, from the mess he inherited to unpick it into transfer windows, or it looks like he has. It's pretty impressive, pretty good going. And yeah, if he can play like we sort of knew he had been at Wickham, and we haven't quite seen that here, probably shows you how much of a mess the team were in at the time when he came here to try and change that around. We talked a lot about the last 10 games of the season. Well, the last 10, take away the final game of the season, of how well he turned that around, being the most informed team in the Championship, apart from the Leeds and Burnley who went up. That should give you confidence that he's able to change things. Obviously, relegation affects people, doesn't it? It shouldn't have gone down like it did. It shouldn't have gone down at all, to be honest, but it did, but they've reacted accordingly. And Yeah, you're right. There probably are no excuses. Not that they're going to lose games. You have to get that in. They're going to lose games, but if the intent is there, if the work rate is there, um, they're trying to score. They're creating chances. Um, then we'll see where we really are.
There's ghost goals in football, isn't there? And there's
We've
obviously a
we've just
ghost. There's a ghost in here as well. Because
we've just lost our Kenilworth Road sign.
if you just heard a bang, that was the Kenilworth Road sign that was disappearing, about to be replaced, as you can see.
This is going down again, isn't it? We need to get this stood up properly.
I think we're going to have to rename this the Tahith Chong Road sign if it goes down goes down as easily as that in future. Um, yeah, you're absolutely right. Listen, if we're going to lose games of football now, if we lose because we're caught out trying to attack, then that's absolutely fine. If we lose because we were outplayed like against Cardiff and outfought like against Bradford, that's not good. But you can accept it if we're going after teams and they just pick us off on the counter attack. It's going to happen. It's a numbers game. 6 attackers to 4 defenders, and one of those defensive players is Saville, who isn't exactly a defender, is he? He's got quality in his feet as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. I'm wary of building it up too much, Jimbo, even though I
I
have done.
think we've just done that
I
there,
have
haven't we?
built it up too much, and yes, there should be a tempering because Rome ain't built in a
It's
day.
still early
Yeah,
days, isn't
Rome
it?
ain't built
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
day.
I think we're talking about potential of what we've got and what we could see
Yeah,
from here.
you'd
But
still
that's what everybody does, isn't it? When you go into the game, the possibilities are all there before you. You've just got to go and make it happen.
Yeah, you'd still think that in 2 international breaks' time, we're gonna be better than what we are on Saturday because, obviously people have only just come into the club. But what we saw against Burton, what we saw against Barnet, 2 weeks, well, near as damn it, 2 weeks to work on that. Extra players to come in when they come in. Saville's gonna be in there. Nicky Wells is gonna be involved somewhere along the line. Jordan Clark didn't play against Barnet. A couple of others. Miliali came off the bench for the last half an hour and played in a position that he won't be playing on Saturday, etc., etc., etc. The shoots are there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I won't be witnessing it,
Hmm.
but I'm still looking forward to getting all of the reports and your instant reaction. And I'll catch up with the game at some point on Sunday before I do the podcast and everything else. But time to go on the attack, Jimbo. It's time. We took the shackles off at Burton. We've thrown them right in the dustbin now. It's time to Operation Steamroller this league.
Well, I am looking forward to that prospect, 100%.
So all that's left then for this podcast is the score predictions. Even you don't need none of that reverse psychology nonsense no more, Jimbo. We've parked that. That went with the shackles. That did. How does Luton v Plymouth end?
I think it's going to be a really open, exciting game. I'm hoping for a really open, exciting game where it's just a shootout of who's got the more goals in their boots, and I think it will be Luton this occasion. And we have a really high scoring 5-3.
No, 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 no. That's more goals than I've seen in 6 games combined, Jimbo. And I'm not going. No, we can't be having that.
Listen, I know it was Barnet that we played, and they weren't any great shakes, but they should have scored 6 or 7 in the first half. They created loads of chances. I just think let's start off this new era with a hat load of goals.
We didn't touch on it in the last podcast, but it should have piddled down with rain against Barnet just for old time's sake, shouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But it didn't. But that's absolutely fine. 5-3 for Jimbo. I'm with him. I'm not with him for 5-3. I think it'll be a high scoring game. I really do. I find it hard to believe we're going to keep a clean sheet here. I think they've got a little bit about them, Plymouth, a bit more about them than we had. So 3-1 Luton for this one, and I'm even that is probably at the far end of the amount of goals I want to miss. But that's what it's going to be.
So neither of us are giving them the record. Then we're not having a clean sheet. I think it's well within their wheelhouse to get that record.
Do you think they'll know it? Because
Um,
if I'm just thinking, if
yeah,
they do know it and they go 2-0 up, do they then? Does Kearley then? Because he'd love to be a record holder, right?
yeah, sure.
Does he then do we kind of drop a little bit? Do we start bringing people on that maintains the clean sheet? I'd like to think not, because you look at
Yeah.
who's on the bench, and if Kadir doesn't start and he comes on, he doesn't really maintain a clean sheet.
Mm.
If Nookie Wells doesn't start and he comes on, he doesn't really maintain a clean sheet. Liam Walsh would probably be the only one on the bench who's not a defender who would stick his foot in. The rest of them all want to go forward. And that's the thing. I think we're going to concede a few consolations at times this season. You know, Burton nearly scored one, didn't they? Barnet did score one. I think we'll be guilty of that because we'll be 3 and 4-0 up in a few games. Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? If we do go ahead, if they do
Yeah.
manage, because
That's not the ethos I'm looking for, to be honest,
no, me
really,
neither.
to be thinking like that. I think that you
I
go
don't
out and
think he goes
play.
into the game thinking that, does he? But if Keeley gets to like 80 minutes, he's 10 minutes away from being a Luton record holder, isn't he? And he's only been here 5 minutes.
I would say the players might not be aware of that because that would have to be put in the match package that they're given to go forward, and I don't see why you'd add that pressure on,
Well, you're
really.
blatantly going to mention this stat at the press conference this week, aren't you?
Yeah, but the players don't have to watch that. They'll get enough from Matt Bloomfield in his talk to them, which I've seen some of last season. He showed us sort of thing that he does, and I'm not sure it's worth putting that in. And also, it's a historical record that goes back to 89, 90. None of those players were born at all, so I don't know if it would resonate so much at all. Whereas absolutely laying down a marker and giving someone a thwacking would do for them. I don't know.
we still don't.
You tell me whether the psychology would be go for the record of a clean sheet or just bag a hatful.
Yeah, neither of us have got Luton keeping a clean sheet. Let us have your score predictions. Thanks to everyone who sent in those score predictions for the Barnet game. We did mention earlier in the season, you may have missed it, that we're not covering the Virtue Trophy fully this season. We might do when we get to the knockout stages, but we won't include score predictions on that.
Glory chasers.
Absolutely, and proud of it. Let's hope there's plenty of glory to be had for sure. But yeah, get your score predictions in for this Plymouth game. If you can put it on this particular, on the comments for this particular podcast, that would be handy. I've seen some pop up on social media and things like that. Pop them in the comments for this podcast. It'll be easier for me to pick them up, particularly as, well, I'm on the sherbets on Saturday. Sunday morning might not be the best time, and I do apologise to Kevin Redmond. I didn't give you a score prediction, score shout out in the last podcast. I missed.
My mate Andy got one as well. He got it right. So I don't think you gave him a shout out either. So
I'm only human, Jimbo.
there is a full table, and we need to work out how
So-
we can get the full table out to people.
Someone asked, can we put that on our website? The Trust website is in process of being revamped. Once that's happened, then we'll get that onto the website for you so that you can see exactly where you are in the table, because you are right, guys. We only put the top 5 up there, and there are plenty of you. And it's quite condensed, actually, and we've only got space for 5 in our caption on the screen, and there's a tie, isn't there, even below them. So, yeah, we'll get the full table out on our website as soon as we can, or if we can't get it up on our website, we'll whack a screenshot of it on social media or something like that. But we'll do that as soon as we can. But yeah, get your predictions in the comments on this podcast, please, and then I'll give you a shout out on Sunday if you get it right. And if Jimbo's got it right, well, what a game of football you're going to witness. 8 goals. Well, we scored 5 against them last time they were down here in League One, so you might have that side right. And goals, goals, goals all the way. Yep, let's hope that's the case. Thanks for watching or listening to this podcast, however it is that you've consumed it. We really, really do appreciate your support. Thanks also to the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Until next time, where Jimbo and myself will review the start of Bloomfield ball. Until then, come on, you Hatters. Goals, goals, goals.